I analyzed data from 65,000 software developers, their salaries, which technologies and tools they use and how they code. A summary of what the software development profession looks like in 2020. For almost a decade, Stack Overflow's annual developer survey has been the largest survey of people who code around the world. This year they did a survey on 65,000 software developers and shared some of the amazing statistics. In this video, I'm going to write a detailed analysis of their survey result. So get ready to watch some amazing analysis. What are the most loved, dreaded, and wanted programming languages among developers? For 5 years, Rust has taken the top spot. TypeScript is now the second most loved programming language, whereas Python secured the third position. Visual Basic applications, Objective-C, Perl, and assembly hold the top spots for the most dreaded languages and example languages that a lot of developers use currently but have no interest in continuing to do so. As far as the most wanted programming languages are concerned, Python takes the top spot for the 4th year in a row, followed by JavaScript. Well, I'm not at all surprised. Python is the #1 choice among new developers right now. JavaScript has been the most used technology. Some of the interesting changes are Dart is rapidly growing with the introduction of Flutter for mobile app development. Kotlin has been picking up fast as an alternative for Java development. How different technologies are correlated with each other and how developers use these technologies. This network graph shows which technologies are most highly correlated with each other. The size of each circle corresponds to the proportion of survey respondents who use the technology tool. Ruby and Rails tend to get used together. Similarly, .NET developers look forward to developing on Windows machines and Azure Cloud. On a similar note, Miscel is more closely associated with PHP, which notifies us of the LAMP stack, Linux, Apache, Miscel. Dart, that previously started out as a web development tool at Google, is now more commonly associated with mobile app development because of the increased popularity of the Flutter framework. You can also see how the whole data science and machine learning technologies are correlated to each other and form a tool chain to take on the AI world. How many developers choose coding as a hobby? About 78% of the survey respondents indicated that they code as a hobby. Respondents who have a family and children indicated that they code when at the job. Not a lot of women choose coding as a hobby. Well, I think we have to change the scene by encouraging more women to take part in coding projects outside of work. How many years since learning to code? About 30% of the respondents indicated that they have been learning to code for 5-9 years, whereas there are people who have been coding for more than 30 years. Isn't it amazing? What are the most loved, dreaded, and wanted web frameworks among developers? According to the survey respondents, ASP.NET Core is the most loved web framework, leaving React.js behind. Interesting to note that Vue.js took the 3rd spot. Angular.js is the most dreaded web framework according to the respondent developers, followed by Drupal and Enquiries. React.js is the most wanted web framework according to the respondent developers, followed by Vue.js and Angular. What are the top frameworks, libraries, and developer tools by developers' preference? Node.js takes the #1 spot, which is nothing but a non-operating system, non-database tool. Machine learning tools such as TensorFlow, Pandas, and PyTorch are becoming very popular with the increasing demand for machine learning and artificial intelligence applications. What are the most loved, dreaded, and wanted platforms among developers? Linux is the most loved platform among developers, followed by Docker and Kubernetes. Windows takes the 10th spot. WordPress took the top spot as the most dreaded platform, followed by IBM Cloud and Heroku. Surprisingly, Android gets the 6th spot, followed by Windows. Docker takes the #1 spot for the most wanted platforms, which is no surprise, followed by the Oz platform. What are the top database technologies by developer preference? Redis is the most loved database technologies, followed by PostgreSQL and Elasticsearch. Redis is an open-source, BSD licensed, in-memory data structure store, used as a database, cache, and message broker. IBMDB2, which is a relational database management system, RDBMS, ranked as the most trusted database. MongoDB, which is an SQL database, remains the database technology that developers want to learn the most. What are the most loved collaboration tools among developers? About 82% of the developers use GitHub as a collaborative tool, whereas more than half use Slack. No wonder GitHub takes the top spot. It's one of the widely used collaboration tools that I love to use. Which language pays you the best? Globally, Perl and Scala, Go and Rust tend to have the highest salaries, with a median salary of around $75,000. In the USA, Scala takes the top spot as the highest paying programming language, followed by Go and Objective-C. What is the average developer salary in 2020? The y-axis median salary. The x-axis years of programming experience. From this, we can conclude that DevOps and site reliability engineers make the most as compared to other developers. How often do developers learn new technologies? Professional developers pick up new tools every few months. Nearly 38% of them seem to learn at least one new technology every year. What is the educational background of most professional developers? About 75% of developers finished an undergraduate university degree, and some went on to get a graduate degree. Around 3% of professional developers didn't go to school after completing a 2-year associate's degree, and around 17% of developers haven't earned any university degree at all. This makes me say that you might not need a college degree to be a professional developer. Computer science is the most common and highest paying major in the USA. So, choose your major wisely if you are planning to attend university. How old is the average professional software developer? Most professional developers are in their late 20s or early 30s. When it comes to developers in the USA, they tend to be older than developers in other countries, with an average age of nearly 35 years. Americans also seem to start coding late than other countries and have on average only coded for about 15 years. Well, extra coding experience is always a bonus when it comes to building a rock-solid career in the tech. Front-end developers and full-stack developers generally have an average of 8+ years of coding experience. Managers and executives tend to have 15 years or more of coding experience. What regions are the survey respondents from? The breakdown of respondents is as follows. How many of the respondents were men or women? Among the respondents that code professionally, almost 92% are men. Only 7.7% of respondents who were professional developers identified as women. What percentage of developers live with physical or mental differences? Well, this is interesting to know that quite a few developers are visually impaired or completely blind. This makes me say more people should start coding, taking inspiration from people who, despite having physical or mental differences, are into coding. This is called passion. What operating system do most developers use? Nearly 46% of developers use Windows as their main desktop operating system, whereas macOS and Linux take the second and third spot respectively. How do developers choose their tools? The most common way to choose a tool is to find out if it is a free trial and just give it a try. What percentage of developers are full-time employed or self-employed? About 83% of developers are employed full-time by companies like FAANG, where Google, Facebook, Amazon, and Apple all have more than 15,000 employees. This also includes students who have full-time internships or job offers. Around 10% of developers still prefer working as freelancers or self-employed. How satisfied are they with their jobs? About 65% of them were satisfied with their jobs. For the dissatisfied ones, the topmost reason is money. For women in tech, the most important consideration is office environment and company culture. How many hours do they work every week? Globally, over 75% of developers work less than 45 hours per week. Around 2% of developers put in more than 70 hours every week. Senior executives and engineering managers tend to work longer hours. Alright, so that's the summary of what the software development profession looks like in 2020. Don't forget to leave us a comment, like, and subscribe our channel. See you in the next video. Have a good day.